Hello YouTube, what's up? This is DP Aviation here, and today we are gonna talk about the rise and fall of one of my most favorite aircrafts, that is the Airbus A340. So let's start. Due to the obvious high operating price and the quad engine maintenance, Airbus A340 was grounded and unused for the time. It is the long-range wide-body commercial passenger jet developed and produces by European aerospace company. Airbus had no idea in the mid 70s to improve the A300. After improving that into a wide body aircraft, their main concern then was to build an aircraft capable of flying over the Pacific, more seating capacity, and long range. Most US airlines preferred a twin, while most Asian and European airlines preferred a quad. Airbus planned to develop both a twin and a quad jet to accommodate all airline customer classes and meet their radically different requirements. Then, in June 1987, A330 was portrayed with the twin-engine jet along with the A340, a quad-engine jet. On 25th October 1991, A340-200 conducted their first maiden flight. In 1993, Lufthansa became the first airline to operate A340-200. A340 comes with four models: A340-200, A340-300, 500, and 600, in which they use CFM engines. In Dash 200 and Dash 300, where the Rolls-Royce engine strength were used, and as the 500 and 600 are concerned, they were the longest ever A340s made. In fact, the Airbus A340-600 being the longest Airbus jet ever made. In 1987, Airbus decided to open A330 and A340 for orders and initially had over 130 aircrafts ordered by 10 different airlines. 89 of those were orders of A340 alone, showing that Airbus was right on the money about the market demand for the aircraft. During this era, Boeing put the Boeing 777 onto the market in the late 90s. This aircraft had a long-range seating capacity greater than the A340. It wasn't heavy and has a twin-engine jet. The A340 later set world records flying back and forth from Paris to New Zealand in 2 days with only 5-hour stopover to refuel. It was the first direct flight between Europe and New Zealand and the longest flight in the world before it surpassed in 1997. 144 Boeing 777s were ordered in 2005 compared to only 15 Airbus A340s, which resulted in few orders and order cancellation. Airbus declared that the end of the A340 program on 10th November 2011, just 20 years after the first version took flight. Plans for an A340neo developed into the current A350 program. The biggest issue facing the A340 was their fuel consumption. Although due to their large size, Dash 300 and Dash 600 sold, there was less demand for Dash 200 and Dash 500. A340-200 faced disruption challenges, in particular, with none of them still in commercial service today. Lufthansa is biggest A340 operator with 34 aircraft to date. When the 777 became more popular with the launch of the extended range of 777-200ER in 1997, and airlines accumulated operational data upon this aircraft, it was apparent that the 777 outperformed the heavier and less fuel-efficient A340, and as a consequence, the stalwart latest quadjet from Airbus began losing its grip to the Boeing's 777. According to trading activity from Airbus, A340 had only 35 operator. Among these, only 4 operators used to have a fleet of more than 10 aircrafts. If we reflect those at flying of then 5 of the aircraft, this doubles to 8 operators. At the period of the A340's production, regulations governing twin-jet aircrafts were quite strict, leaving transatlantic flights in these aircraft unpractical and costly. A few years later, in 1988, the FAA, now with 3 years of smooth, trouble-free transatlantic 767 flight operations in the books, agreed to extend ETOPS to 180 minutes. This change put 95% of the Earth within reach of suitability qualified twin-engine jets such as 767, the stage had been set for the Boeing 777. Considering the ever-increasing constraints of the ETOPS regulations, four-engine jets are no longer expected to be in operations. Four-engine planes are also less fuel efficient, unlikely two-engine aircraft. That generally means they cost more to operate and have higher emissions. The very first 777-200 became delivered to United on May 15, 1995, and weeks later the aircraft was granted 180-minute ETOPS authorization by the FAA, marking this the first single aircraft to acquire 180 ETOPS approval. Upon commencement on 7th June 1995, United conducted the world's first scheduled 777 operation to Washington Dulles through London Heathrow. The FAA raised the powered Pratt & Whitney 777-200 ETOPS rating the 207 minutes next year. The 777 has proved to be a fearsome rival whose lasting power in the global marketplace has found it tough for the Airbus to combat the higher efficiency side of the scale in particular, which is why the emergence of the A350-XWB, adding to this commercialization of the A340 market by Airbus' own best-selling A330 and fuel cost, is this quickly turned around out of the reach in the recent years, and the deck was balanced almost from the start. The A340, and while Airbus definitely considers the A340's low overall sales frustrating, they do not reflect a program failure. The A340 was initially a good Airbus aircraft, although not to the extent as the A330. The A340 was a successful aircraft and the first attempt by Boeing to compare it with the Boeing 747. It was also last quad jet to be designed to medium scale. So that's all we have here for the rise and fall of the Airbus A340. If you ask for my opinion, in my opinion, it's clear that the Airbus could not compete with the Boeing 777s, so they decided to quit out of the market. And it really did make sense, as their other aircrafts did more better than the A340. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and are well informed. Hope to see you again. Take care. Do like, comment and subscribe. Till we meet again. Goodbye.